Jenny-Jaymes and our sidekick Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon.
Everybody, it is the first week in August, actually. It is August 3rd already, and this is Two Queers in a Truck, and we're rocking it out with a little bit of music here, and I feel like I'm at a club or a rave or something, and you got it going on. And
remember those days?
those days for the most part have been long gone for me for a while. Like
yeah,
I did go to online dance parties during COVID. You know,
oh yeah,
when there's no clubs open, obviously, but a lot of entertainers and DJs and personalities decided to do these online dance parties and with different groups that I know, and so they did these. They did it for about a year and a half, and I kind of miss them now. I wish they would still do them every once in a while, just for nostalgia.
I remember you got me hooked onto one of them, and it was like, wow, this is really kind of cool. Yeah, I remember it was. Yeah, that was great.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to participate when there was a participation, and it was and the music and just sitting back, and so. Yeah, just kind of reminiscing about the better part of the pandemic, not the
exactly.
Not the death and the destruction and the political side, but the actual enjoyable side of it. And that seems like a long time ago too. By the way, I don't know what it was, but we'll jump right into it. Record water temperatures off the coast of Florida, Manatee Bay. 101.1 degrees yesterday. And then it wasn't the only one. Murray Key, 99.3, and Johnson Key, 98.6 or 98.4, which is body temperature or higher. The 101, typical most hot tubs run at about 100 to 102 degrees. You're not supposed to swim in water like that. This is also where sea life lives too. Like there's living creatures that are living in water that is hot as a hot tub. You're not supposed to stay in a hot tub more than 15 or 20 minutes. But imagine that being your home.
Exactly.
It can't be good for them. I can't imagine that this is something that is going to help our circle of life. And I'm pretty sure it's going to acidify the ocean even more. It also brings up stronger hurricanes. So the other issue with extremely hot water like that is so it's like, and I put the title of this section, the seafood gets cooked in its own home. And it's literally, I would imagine that a lot of the coastal creatures are trying to push out the cooler water, but if they're not meant to go out into the open water of the ocean, they're either going to face getting eaten by bigger creatures. The deeper you go, the bigger the creature is going to get, and or they sit there and just cook. It's like living in a house with a broken air conditioner, and it's a heat wave of 120 in Phoenix. It's dangerous and it's sad because we've let our climate spin out of control, and it's our fault. It's not their fault. And it's just very bizarre that there's still people saying climate change is a hoax. I'm like, you can't not see that. This isn't some kind of El Nino phenomenon or anything like this. This is serious. This is a changed climate that now we're going to get worse and worse storms. We're going to get rain bombs. We're going to get more water vapor in the air, which causes us to hold in more heat. And this is what they call as the greenhouse effect. And we don't know what the tipping point is where that spins out of control, because our climate's changed faster than even scientists predicted. And so all these targets for 2030 and 2040 go out the window. It's already gotten there. And we still got people that insist on, this is normal. This is normal. We'll quote a Jurassic Park line, and talk about men's arrogance and act like that this is just a normal cycle of things when it's not. These are unprecedented temperatures. There's nothing in recorded history, even in the different archaeological and all that. There's nothing in Earth's recorded history of it being this hot, and so it's just bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Hey, Jen, it's interesting you say that, because it's impacting the tourists down here in an undisclosed location. Because, like you said, in all of the shallow areas that people would hang out, and we actually have done it, a lot of the fish have died. And the sand dollars have died. They've turned, you can pick them up. The conchs, those are very sensitive. And so it has impacted a lot of the area here. And the captain of the ship had said that, that this summer they have seen, and then of course people who would come out here just for water sports are concerned because it impacts the fish,
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and if you're doing diving, and scuba diving and things of that nature, and you're coming into the sea life, and the sea life is either dead or
not there at all,
coming around, or doing their little under the sea dance, and doing all the things that Ariel and all that, and all the fish that live under the sea and the Little Mermaid song aren't doing that, and it looks like just a dead spot, or there's a little dead fish floating by, and not exactly the most touristy thing to do. And if that's what you primarily came for, it's like going to Vegas and all the casinos being closed.
Exactly. Yep. It's good analogy.
And so it's a very bizarre situation. And quite frankly, it's kind of sad, but, we're getting the world that we've voted for the last 50 years. And we let Republicans and conservatives and greedy corporations gaslight us into saying, hey, I know you see all these flames and everything's burning down, but it's no biggie. Don't worry about it. Kind of like during COVID. A few people got sick, a few old people died, no big deal. We need Generation Z to vote like our world's burning down, because it actually literally is. Just remember in the 2017 shooting in Vegas, when Jason Aldean dropped his mic and ran like Josh Hawley on January 6th. And the videos are resurfacing, because he was talking about not in our small town, or not in my small town. And not only was a racist song and has dog whistles in it, but it also, these guys try to pose as these tough small town guys. We wouldn't let no Antifa here. I'm like, well, first of all, Antifa don't want to come to no small town. I mean, and it's not because there's just nothing to protest, because, most people aren't going to live in a small town. It's not necessarily the smartest thing in the world to do. And, so if they're going to pick between Portland and Moose Knuckle, Arkansas, they're probably going to pick Portland, because there's more to deal with. But also too, these posers like Jason Aldean they claim they're from a small town, which he's from Macon, Georgia, which is not a small town. You've heard of it. Just like one comedian said online that's a progressive guy. He said, if you've heard of the town and multiple people have heard of your town, it's not a true small town. And everybody's heard of Macon, Georgia. And but yeah, he there's a video of him because he was playing a concert when that shooting happened, and he dropped his mic and ran like Josh Hollywood would. And so it's just funny how he's like, oh, I'm a tough guy, almost like he had combat experience, which he doesn't, and is all heroic. But when the chips are down, he runs like the rest of us do, and isn't that tough guy. And he didn't break out his AR-15 and go whipsaw this Vegas shooter, just like nobody else does. That's why you don't see the good guy with the gun jumping in and shooting these mass shooters, just like that Tennessee Christian school. There's 4 armed personnel in that Christian school, and not a one of them drew down their gun.
Yeah.
It's not like Die Hard. We've overglorified the good guy with the gun because of movies and this idea that, the good guy with the gun is always going to stop the bad shooter. We saw this in Uvalde with the police didn't even want to go in and confront the shooter till the shooter stopped shooting and ran out of bullets. We saw with the Christian school with 4 armed personnel, 2 administrators, 2 teachers. They didn't run out there and say, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, and shoot Hans Kluber. Like there was no crawling through little air vents to stop the terrorists. And because it doesn't happen in real life.
But you know what, Jenny, you're so exactly right. And when I heard about this controversy, because it's been on for a little bit, and how he's been defended it, it's anyone who thinks rationally. There are thousands and thousands of country songs that talk about where people grow up. And not one of them has had to invoke the dog whistle, Black Lives Matter riot, all that kind of stuff like that. And so to suggest to us, well, I wasn't trying to be racist. I was just trying to examine, the wonderful things. We know, grew up in a small town, Andy Griffin show kind of Leave It to Beaver mindset. It's not real. Anyone who's grown up from a small town left a small town. That's why they're small towns, because people don't want to live in small towns. Is it great when you get older and things like that? Yes, it is. But what would the difference be between a pop singer doing a song about doesn't happen in my big town, incest, poverty, toothlessness, all of these things that you as stereotype with small towns.
And we saw the Dixie Chicks lash back at conservatives in the early 2000s with them, speaking out against George W. Bush and the 9/11 wars. And we saw everybody cancel them on the conservative side and drove them literally out of the music business for a while. And even though they ended up being right, what they said ended up being spot fucking on. And they warned us about letting Bush just run rapid over the planet. And what they said ended up coming true. As many progressives say, yeah, we probably need to do something about the environment and the climate. And now we got, hot tub water for our oceans. But we are up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers at a Truck.
Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers at a Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, boo. Happy time.
And no, you're 100% spot on. Is that if an artist does lash out against the conservatives, oh, they're woke and they're, whether it's, we're seeing this with Disney, we're seeing this with drag, we're seeing this with anything they think is a threat to speaking out, telling the truth, keeping things woke, even books, like they're attacking books, they're attacking libraries, they're trying to come up with whatever lie. Moms for Liberty has got caught into another lie saying there was a hypersexual book that made its way into the elementary school, but nobody can actually verify that a student ever checked it out, as it was probably there for a staffer to check it out, and a staff member probably did check it out. They verified that one staff member checked it out for 2 months because it was with LGBT issues, and it was rated young adults, and it was in a school that had, I think, all the way up to 6th graders. But some libraries have books that aren't necessarily meant for kids. Like there's adults that work in that building, and they may be using it for research purposes. There's a lot of things, but they won't necessarily check it out till 1st grade. Like the kid might bring that up to the library desk and say, "Well, no, that's a reference book. Let me go ahead and have that and put it out of the shelves." And that's the way libraries work. A librarian, one of their jobs is to make sure, kids aren't checking out things above their reading level or appropriateness level too. But they're making it sound like it's in every school library, and this has happened all the time. And even the author spoke up and said, "No, I wrote that book. It even says it on the description. If you buy that book, it says young adult. And it's meant for adolescents that describe a real world situation." And yeah, we have to have real talk. We went a little over on that section, so I'm going to abbreviate this one. DeClantis, as some people are calling him, instead of DeSantis, like
DeClantis, that's funny.
Fired a staffer last week, which would be this week, for being too online. I guess they created a meme for the campaign or something that went over the line that was a little racist. And it got a lot of lashback. It even got a lot of lashback from Republicans. And so he immediately fired this person for being too online. Now, here's the thing. First of all, DeClantis probably knew of the meme and didn't care until he got caught. This is the thing with the Republicans. They don't care about anything until they get caught. And once they get caught, it's like, oh, well, it was just a bad staffer. They were too woke, or they were too this, or I fixed the problem. I'm like, no, you're hiring people like that. You're hiring people. You're encouraging it. Leadership starts at the top. And these guys so much don't want to take personal responsibility when they do something wrong.
Exactly.
Well, personal responsibilities across the street real fast. Like, they're searching around for their wallet and go, "Oh, I think I left my wallet in my suit coat," and looking around and doing the Republican two-step, and 2 steps away from the camera because
what had happened was,
yeah, I was over there, and and it was really my cousin Eddie,
exactly.
And it's funny how fast, instead of just stepping up and say, yeah, that was wrong. And I take full responsibility. I'm the captain of the ship, and I go down with my ship. These guys, like Josh Hawley and Jason Aldean and all of these anti-woke tough guys, when things get tough, they get to running. They run so far from these things. And he said, you see the little chicken feathers flying off, when they're running and sliding by boots. And it's just hilarious because you're exactly right. You get these performative Jason Aldean plastic banana types that Jason Aldean probably lives in West Hollywood or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably he's a big old queen in real life.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the ridiculous outfits he's worn at big Hollywood premieres, and he went to the Barbie premiere. They talk about all this anti-woke bullshit. I never write a song next to those celebrities. They're next to all those liberals and all those woke people they say they don't like because they want to go to the cool parties. They want to be part of the cool kids. They're just as woke as everybody else, but they just don't want to admit it because they've got a certain audience that they have to pander to. And there's a certain amount of country music and there's a certain amount of republicanism, but how they live their life, like Trump, it was all about sex workers and parties and cocaine and craziness all of his life, including now. And there wasn't nothing Christian about him whatsoever. He wasn't going to church on Sundays. He was probably waking up in a drunken stupor in one of his resorts, with 2 sex workers, one on each arm, and living the Hugh Hefner life. Still was living the Hugh Hefner life when he was president. And then when he got out of the presidency, and he was doing crazy things when he flew down to Florida every weekend when he was president. And there was all kinds of stuff going on. I bet Melania half the time didn't even go with him. And the truth is, these people are nothing like their persona. It's just like the Righteous Gemstones, the HBO fictional show, is that they're buck-ass wild and they project this holy roller deal out on TV. And this is why these televangelists get caught selling fake timeshare, doing the things, sinning just like everybody else, except they make a living on pointing out what other people do. And Dick Suckus is a prime example of that. Racist as fuck, a bigot. His wife's a bigot. And they want to make a living off being a bigot.
You're exactly right, Jenny. You hit the nail right on the head. They are a group of individuals that are right now running the Republican Party, started the MAGAs, have turned into the kind of the Bible bigot DeSantis group. And it's a small group, but their whole existence is based upon being a hypocrite, saying one thing but doing another. It's like a form of entertainment for them.
Yeah.
And so it is their way to become a celebrity, to become an entertainer. The more outrageous and hypocritical they are, they attract they're like the reality TV show of politics.
Yeah. And Reagan kind of started this all. Jesse Jackson used to criticize him and call Reagan styles and profiles and made fun of him in the 80s, religiously made fun of Reagan, calling him plastic banana, and made his presidency over villainizing different cultures.
Yeah.
It was racist. Reagan was extremely racist and homophobic. And he was homophobic. He was that bad when he was the governor of California too. And he was just a shitbag. And he wasn't any different than DeSantis, except Reagan had a lot of editing because there was no social media when he was in politics and when he was alive. There was no, I'll tell you what, if he had access to Twitter, we'd have seen a way different Reagan. Like we would have seen just in people's memoirs, this guy's he wasn't a good guy. He wasn't this grandfatherly, it was all an act. It was all play acting. Republicans, super conservative Republicans, these evangelical Republicans like Reagan, Trump's not evangelical, but he's selling to an evangelical crowd.
Exactly. He's playing the part.
They'll buy anything. That's why most multi-level marketing schemes are sold to, they're usually started by Christians and promoted in churches and promoted amongst their fellowship. and they're sold to all buy into this prosperity gospel that's created people like Joel Osteen and the 700 Club and big old fat dead Pat Robertson and
That's right.
may he rest in piss. Just what a horrible scumbag he was. But anyway, the next subject is X killed Twitter. So Twitter, the little tweet Bluebird is
That's
going.
right. It's dead.
It made me kind of sad. I almost teared up a little
It
bit. They put these really cute birds, little fat bluebirds on Twitter, and with little sad looks because X is taking them away, and they're going to this X brand for whatever reason. Like, and you gotta wonder why Elliot's doing that when he bought Twitter that way. When you send the little tweets, it makes the little tweet sound. And you buy a brand for its identity, its iconic identity. Why buy a brand and then jack it all up with your ego and then rename it when you're the one that caused the problem? Like, there was nothing wrong with Twitter. Twitter was operating fine until Ellen got a hold of it. And just per usual, he screws up everything he touches.
He's literally killed Twitter.
He literally, he just killed. He also is in hot water because there is controversy over who owns the rights to that name, because Microsoft has that as a registered name, and I think I think also Meta has some kind of internet publishing rights to that name. And so some people are saying aliens picked that name as a big FU back to Microsoft and
I'll say. And Meta because of a Threads, you mean? Okay.
I mean, just because Meta has gone Threads and kicked their ass over and over.
Yeah.
And so many people have ported over to Threads, and of course you got Mastodon and Blue Sky and everything else. And so, and some of it is, he's just trashed the Twitter reputation. He is. So I think maybe he's trying to, Elon's got this thing that he thinks he's one of the cool kids. He wants to be a rock star so bad, and he's just not. He can put in all the hair transplant hair into his head. He can get liposuction. He can get whatever. But at the end of the day, he's a dumpy, idiotic trust fund nerd. And that has crushed every company every concept in every company he's touched. But he's not created anything original either. They always say, well, Meta always steals its best ideas from somebody else and just incorporates it into the business. I said, no, Elon hasn't. Elon's never created any product he's ever sold.
In many ways, Jenny, in a kind of bizarre way, a bizarre twist when they write about kind of this time period, Elon Musk is going to be one of the great distributors of wealth that America has seen in a long time, because he is wasting so much money on his vanity, but he's basically distributing wealth. He's basically saying, here, I need to give a lot of this away. Instead of giving it to charity, I'm just going to burn it through companies by losing money, because the shareholders that are losing money are wealthy people, and he's helping distribute that wealth to the common people. So in a way, his fall has been good in many ways, because it has allowed the wealth to be distributed amongst other people.
I don't know if that premise is correct either. I mean, if you lose stock value, that's not. If let's say the stock price goes from $100 to $50, that wealth just evaporates. It's not being redistributed in the economy. It's just gone. But that's the danger of paper money. And when I mean paper money, I mean stock tickets or virtual money.
Exactly.
Is that He's where money goes to die. He's a bad investor.
That's right. He's the black hole of money.
Yeah, kind of like donating to Trump is if you really have all this pesky extra money laying around, go ahead and buy about $40 million worth of Trump NFTs, where they try to make him look like Superman when we all know he's the opposite on the opposite end of the spectrum. But we are up against a second break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And we are back. And yeah, Elliot's no Robin Hood, that's for sure. He's more like.
Oh, that's a good point. You're right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
He's distributing it by destroying the money, and he literally has to get bought out every time, and the company has to get bailed out. He is stealing from the rich and burning the money. You know, he misses the step of giving it to the poor. It would be great if he did that. He would be beloved if Elliot went around and built all these, schools, fought poverty, was feeding the hungry and building shelters and creating high-tech gateways for jobs and impoverished areas and ending food deserts. If he was using all these technology and his wealth for that, everybody would love this guy. And he has the ability to do that. That's the crazy thing, is instead of spending $44 billion on Twitter for an ego stroke, if this jackass would have just said, well, I'm buying Twitter to raise money to end poverty in American cities and in the United States in rural areas, and actually use technology to end that, he would be an international hero. That would be great if he actually did that. But this jackass doesn't do this because it doesn't edify his ego and it doesn't glorify him. And he'd rather sit around all day tweeting about wokeism and be a transphobe and just be an all-around jackass and idiot and bigot. Well, the feds are fighting Evil Abbott's little barriers that he's putting in the Rio Grande. So these little buoys wrapped in razor wire, the federal government's going after that. It's not ethical or legal. It goes against a lot of international law, and it's just, quite frankly, it's just wrong. Is to trap people in the middle of water, and we're talking about men, women, children, endangering their lives, sending them back out into the heat with no water. Is probably one of the most unethical things. But the buoys in general are like booby traps. They're designed to hurt people, which is just, I don't give a shit how you feel about immigration. Wrong is wrong. That's like supporting Hitler in his concentration camps and going, wow, he was just trying to keep his country under control and control the population by killing people. And it just, the Germans did breathing room, and it was okay to kill masses of people, including the Jews. And it's the same mentality. It's okay to kill, air quotes, illegal immigrants, because they should know how to go about applying to come into the United States the right way, in the legal way. Now, these are poor people. I'm going to venture and say they probably don't have a real high level of education. They didn't make any money where they're coming from. In fact, they're probably in a starvation or a political persecution mode. And they're setting out on foot to walk over 1,000 miles to our southern border. They're that desperate. Now, Americans are all fat and sassy. We won't even go across the street. If the grocery store is across the street, we'll still get in our car and drive across the street. These people are so impoverished, so downtrodden and all that. They're not even like my family that came over on the ship. And granted, we were probably pretty close to the bottom of the ship because my family was poor people too when I came over.
Yeah.
But they at least had some access to transportation. These people aren't coming over in a stretched limo. They're not hopping in a stretched limo or a private jet and trucking over here from El Salvador. They're literally walking through a foreign country in Mexico in hostile, anti-immigrant attitudes and coming here and knocking on the door and say, hey, we need help. There is no moral choice there. We're looking at poor, impoverished people that we need the labor. They need a new home.
Well, no, yeah, exactly right, Jenny. I mean, once again, it's a hypocrisy. Anyone who lives in Texas knows the reason that so many undocumented workers are coming to Texas and around the country is because people are hiring them. They're coming because someone has said, hey, come here. I work for a company that needs some people. Come here. You can stay with me, family, relatives, people they know. And so if you want to impact immigration, even Republicans who are understand about immigration reform, we need the workers, but if you don't want them to stay here permanently, which is really what they're saying, they don't mind them working. I just don't want you using things that I use. I want you to be like a temporary kind of person. Then we need to pass legislation to say, when you come here, you have to register, you have to do this. And that's what they've been trying to do for the bipartisan Republicans and Democrats. But the MAGA part of them, they like having the immigrants as like this evil topic. Because if they fix immigration reform, they won't have anything to be mad at.
Well, they've treated them like basically a political pinata.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
And they step up and they take these immigrants and they just whack them with a stick and go, I don't want this pinata to go anywhere because pinatas don't go anywhere. They just hang up from a rope and flop around and eventually spill out candy.
Exactly.
And the them is the benefit of having this
worker that you can use and take advantage of. Yeah.
This villain, this villainization of people, of poor people. And what most Republican voters, because they're usually lower income, low information voters, they should see themselves in those migrant workers' shoes. Is that one day too you could be in that situation. Republican Party doesn't care that you're poor. They don't care that you're uneducated and stupid. They like you that way. That's why they're anti-woke. And if you don't see that, you're not exactly the smartest person in the world.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, you should have solidarity with other poor people. You should be going, you know, they're coming to do jobs white Americans, even poor white Americans, don't want to do. And that these people from El Salvador and Central America that are literally running for their lives. And then how we greet them is that we booby trap the Rio Grande. Because Governor Hot Wheels from Texas gets some kind of narcissistic, sociopathic thrill out of drowning people and killing people in the Rio Grande. Fuck that motherfucker. He's a piece of shit. And he literally needs to be removed out of office. That's psychopathic. I don't give a shit who you are. It's just fucking wrong. It's sick and it's wrong. And to murder people or attempt to murder people is a fucking crazy. I don't see any difference than what the Soviets did when they built the Berlin Wall. And do we really want to get in the habit of building walls to keep people out? Because walls also keep you in. When did that ever become a Texas thing? You and I both, as kids, crossed over the Rio Grande a million times to go shopping in Mexico. That was a normal thing. I remember my grandfather, that was one of his favorite things to do when he went down to South Texas, was to go across that river and eat in a restaurant on the other side of the border, go silver shopping, go boot shopping, get a custom-made pair of boots from Mexican craftsmen. He just loved those boots. He almost didn't ever buy boots made in America because he loved the quality of the craftsmanship of these Mexican artisans that would make some of the, and he also had like unusually wide feet. And I remember growing up, and it just, he loved going across. He loved everything about Mexico. This guy was a conservative guy, a very, very Southern Democrat, but the conservative side of it. And, you know, when did we flip the switch and all of a sudden say that our country that we trade, we do a lot of business with, that we go down and party in their cities like Cancun and Cozumel and all these places, that I guess we love Mexico, we love Latin American people as long as they don't need help. It's okay if they make our food, if they work in our factories, but we just don't want to see them. We don't want to share in our prosperity that many people born here and born over there helped build this country. And that's sad. That's a sad, dark day. It says a lot about America. It says less about them and says more about who we are as a people, that we take a blind eye to drowning people on our border. And that to me is pathetic. That to me is disgusting. And our next subject is Christians are biting back at Trump. And over 20,000 Christians are signing a petition and protesting Trump coming to Vegas, coming to Nevada. So Trump's doing this Reawaken tour all across the United States.
Oh, with the Flint and all those crazy people.
Yeah. These wackadoodles are doing their little grifting tour, and you know, using these different religious themes and all this as well. But there's 20,000 Christians that are fighting back and trying to force the governor not to let him come to Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Said, no, we don't want to issue them the permits. We don't want this here. We don't want this going on. And that's a lot of people that are saying, and these are Christians. It's Vegas and Nevada area churches that are saying, we don't want their bullshit here. We don't want a bunch of MAGAs. We don't want a bunch of guns. We don't want to see it because we just don't. This does not. He didn't represent Christian values. And there's a moving. I'm glad to see it. I think Christians need to be held accountable, including the progressive ones, because they've so failed to fight back against this ultra right-wing fascism that is taking over the Christian faith. Now I'll contend that Christianity is why fascism exists. But if certain sects of Christianity want to claim that it's a good religion and that it's a valid religion and should be allowed to practice in the United States, they need to fight. They need to fight back against fascism and terrorism in their religion. And they don't need the extremists to define what they look like. They need to fight back. They need to reject this lack of ethics, this lack of morality, and promoting homophobia and transphobia and hate. And if they don't, then they're enabling it.
You know, Jenny, that seems to be a running theme, and I completely agree with you. And I think you and I kind of are similar in how we think in that way. Every group and every organization has this like personal responsibility to monitor their own group. So if you're a Christian and you have these extreme Christian nationalists who are preaching this hateful stuff that actually works against what you're trying to accomplish, you have to speak up and say, hey, these crazy guys don't represent us, and they haven't. And that has been our biggest complaint is you and I shouldn't be fighting these Bible bigots. Those other churches should be fighting the Bible bigots because it's their problem.
And they be clapping back against this big circuses, and they need to be clapping back and go, no, dude.
Exactly.
You can say what you want, but just own your own bigotry and go, this is not how we want our churches represented. Like exactly. Florida churches need to clap back at DeSantis and say, no, dude, don't use your bigotry and try to wrap it in with our faith.
Yeah.
If you truly believe love thy neighbor and that Christianity is an accepting and affirming faith, they need to clap back against Moms for Liberty.
Exactly.
All these Oath Keepers and all these other basically terrorist groups. And say, no. Don't bring Jesus into this. This isn't something Jesus would have wanted. If you would have had this, you just don't. Christian nationalism shouldn't exist by what is said in the New Testament. Is that it's not your right to judge. It says that in the Bible. It says, don't judge your beat, or you're going to get judged. You're going to have to answer for your actions by hurting and killing people and targeting people. And God says, you need to answer to me. You don't need to hold anybody else accountable. That's my job, baby. Because I'll take care of them. You take care of you. You mind your own.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. And these people have got this sense of entitlement to crack on people, and it's like, no, fuck you, dude. I'm a citizen just like anybody else. That's none of your fucking business.
Yep.
If I'm breaking the law, like I'm harming kids or torturing animals or I'm robbing people, different thing. If I'm actually breaking the law. But if I'm just living my life and you just don't like it or you're uncomfortable with your own sexuality and your own skeletons in the closet, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Mind your own. And don't bring some kind of fake religious creed into politics. And you're a public service, dude. On top of this, the president on down, you're a public servant. You work for me, and I don't work for you.
Yep.
Don't forget that. Again, stay in your lane, mind your own business, go do your little government bureaucratic job that we elected you to, like maintain the roads, maintain the schools, build some bridges, figure out how not to fuck that up. Just do your job. Keep the lights on, Governor Abbott. Don't worry about the Rio Grande and setting up traps and shit. Like, these guys but because they can't do their job, most Republicans are incompetent at their actual job when they get elected and are such chuckle fucks. All they know to do is these clown show antics. Because all they are juggling clowns. They're just not fun. They're just not funny or lovable. But that is at the end of the show. We ran a little long, and we'll be back next week with some more Two Queer Talk. Bye, Boo.
Bye, Boo. Good show.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching, and be careful out there. There's still a heat wave in parts of the country. Drink lots of water, get in the shade as much as possible, and have a great week. Thank you.
Bye, Boo.
Bye, Boo.